Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for you. You know, I hear people talk about separation between church and state. Separation between church and state. And I really can't comprehend what that means. I get a feeling that state probably means an introduction to life without anything references the church, or that the church life is all exclusively church life, nothing about the other. And if the occasion arose where they did come together, I would expect the church life, even in the midst of all of the things that's happening, to carry themselves like they were taught in church, whatever that is. And the state, if you know as a state life, I expect that you would live your life as if you were trained by the state, even in that situation. Now, in that situation, based upon the life that I have experienced here in America, and as a social scientist, are quite familiar with through my studies, that would bring an awful situation. It would mean that the state would be willing to do whatever is necessary to run the show, to control resources, and to control the people. That's what the state would do. That's what the state does every day. They're willing to go to any extreme. They will lock you down, demoralize you, hook you up in jail. They will murder you. They will murder your country, murder your citizens. They'll do anything. That's the state. But on the church side would not practice that kind of conduct. The church side would understand that everybody in the state is brainwashed, that they are trained outside of love, outside of the right way of doing things. They wouldn't know what it means. And the only introduction they could get from what it means to do right is for those who were brought up doing right to do right. Now, I want you to understand that I'm not talking about the church as we know the church to mean. I'm talking about the church as it is ideally mean. That means you're familiar with God, you're familiar with God's plan, and you have accepted God's plan. And the evidence is that you're living God's plan. Now, what will happen while the state is willing to do anything to you, and you can do nothing but love the state? Well, when you do what you're supposed to do, it is out of your hand. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you refuse to believe this. I know you do, because you know their ideas. Somebody slap you on the cheek, turn the other cheek. You know you're not going for that. If they go low, you go lower. You know how that is, right? Now, here is somebody who is willing to do any and everything to you to show you that you don't mean anything. And your job is, in spite of all of that, is to love him. Try to exercise your daily activities in such a way that you have the opportunity to do what you really love doing. And that in doing that, you are creating the same resources that you need for survival, and you're creating the same resources that they need for survival. They want money. You don't want anything but them to engage themselves in the process of creation. Now, what happens when they can't control you, can't manipulate you? Well, what we just discussed. So they're going to kill you, right? Now, here is where faith comes in. Here is where faith comes in. It is no longer your responsibility to take care of yourself. No. Somebody said one time that you got the right to self-defense. Yeah, you got the right to self-defense, but your self-defense is not in your hand. Why? Because you're following the guidelines of another. You're following the guidelines of what we call God. You're following the guidelines of that which created the earth and all that exists, including you. So it is that one's responsibility. If you are to be preserved, if you are to be taken care of, it is the duty and the responsibility of God. Now, that might sound ludicrous to you, but for those who have put their faith in God, they know it's true. In the book, you read about Daniel in the lion's den. In the book, you might have read something about Samson. You might even read something about David. You might have even read something about Meshach, and Abednego. You might even read something about the ram in the bush. All of these, my friend, were necessary to protect the individuals that represented God. Many of you, millions of you, perhaps, have caught yourselves in situations that the only reason that you're here now is because God saved you. God took care of you, whether you deserved it or not, but that's why you're here. Had it not been that way, you wouldn't be here like the millions and billions that are not here. So, what I'm saying is that in America, I'll stick to America right now, we got a man, Donald Trump, I'll call his name, he wants everybody to know him, that in my way of upbringing, Donald Trump is devilish, he's evil, he's satanic. Not that he was created that way, but he brought up in a situation that formed and shaped this creature. And all of those that support Donald Trump, they walk in the same shoes. They don't know any better. Their parents didn't know any better. The system of government that they operated in didn't know any better. It allowed them to mature to this fashion. So, does that mean out of all the crimes and stuff that they've done, they're supposed to be excused? No. They themselves have the law set up how they're supposed to be treated. So if they violate those laws, then they are to be treated according to those laws. But they are doing that to themselves. You are not, because you're still preparing that whenever they serve or do whatever they're supposed to do and are back out, they don't have to continue that any longer, because the new way would have been established. Those who have been practicing the state, who have been practicing cheating and stealing and hatred and racism and bigotry, that state will learn from you. Because up until you came along, they never knew anything about God. When they went to church, but it didn't mean nothing to them. Their preachers didn't know nothing about God. It was all a game. It was all a con game. It was all pretentious. It was all fake. And so this is the result of fakeness. The challenge every day is for the real deal. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you can't play. You can't pawn the real deal. No. It takes some faith. It takes the kind of faith that allows you to walk on water. It takes the kind of faith that will allow you to dive off a building and fly. Well, I know you can't understand those things, but I just wanted to share them with you anyway. And let me take just a moment and see if there's anything else I want to say before I click out. Yes, there is one thing I'd like to share with you before I go. Every last one of us, especially black men, we are tired. All of our lives, we've had to do everything. We've had to wash. We've had to cook. We've had to scrub floors. We have to wash walls. We've had to work on the house, work on the outhouse. We had to fix porches. We had to work cars, engines, tires, chop, pick, whatever it was. We as black men had to do it. We are tired. And we need relief. Now, people have created AI, artificial intelligence. Now, the state really fixes artificial intelligence to make more money, to render you useless, and where they can do anything they want to you or just ignore you. That's the state. But from the divine perspective, the AI replaces the work that you've been doing. You don't have to, because you love yours and you do yours, and yours is absolutely necessary. If the AI is doing it, it's the same thing. But by the AI doing it, it frees you to do the things that you've always wanted to do, that you've never had the chance to do. It might mean go back to school and study something that you want to study. It might mean pick up some trade or some talent. It might mean just traveling all over the world, seeing the world, and partying all over the world. It might mean learning to do a bunch of other things you never thought would give you joy. But it opens the door for you to do that, for you to live, not hate, not be a liar, a cheater. You don't have to do any of those things. I want to share that with you because I know that most of you hears nothing about love. In your churches, you don't hear anything about love. You don't hear it. I know what you talk about. I've been there. You do not know love. And you cannot show love when you don't know love. And Trump and his people that's following him are the worst things as far as trying to show somebody love. You got to be born and raised of that same stock that Trump is to believe any of that junk that he's speaking. Until next time, Eddie Marcus saying goodbye for now.